What if Silvally was in Gen 1 OU? Now, I don't think anyone suggested Silvally, and I'm really surprised, because I feel like he's a really interesting case for Gen 1, and I feel like he'd be pretty good. Now, maybe a reason no one suggested him is because, one, even though he's a legendary, let's be honest, he's not one of the most memorable. Not that his whole concept and, gimmick isn't cool, but, I mean, you guys, have been around the Pokemon fandom. You guys would have seen him around all the time if he was popular. And the other reason, and probably the more wacky one, is because he's just not good. I know that his signature move got a buff in Gen 8, so maybe he was a little better there. But in Gen 9, almost all of his forms were in PU. Or no, not even PU, they were just untiered. The only PU Pokemon was, I think, Silvally Ghost. And then Silvally Steel was in NU. Or other than that, these guys were just terrible. The stats were just not good, and it really held it back. However, in Gen 1, 95 in every stat is pretty dang good. Even in just one of these, it would already be good enough, for the most part. Since, 95 is also the same as Shinx, special and speed. But having that in bulk, physical attack, and HP, it makes Silvally incredibly bulky, really fast, and very versatile, because luckily it has a good moveset as well. Now, just like with Arceus, we're not allowing held items, which means he won't be allowed to use his plates, or disc, I think that's what they're called. But it doesn't matter that much, because unlike with Arceus, it did even give you a boost to your stab. And to be honest, I feel like most people would prefer Silvally normal anyways, just because normal is already the best type in Gen 1. Not to mention, I would think giving Silvally a immunity to body slam paralysis is probably better than, giving him a step ice beam or thunderbolt. Not to mention, it really enjoys having stab normal moves, because those are where its best moves are, to no one's surprise. Not to mention, the only other Silvally form that I think would even be considered to be used would be Silvally Ghost, which, would have an immunity to normal. And unlike Gengar, it wouldn't, be weak to ground. But even then, I still feel like normal would be better. You guys let me know down in the comments which one you think would be better, or which one you would prefer. Let's just get into the moveset. So we already talked about his base stats, incredibly good, and right off the bat, he has Explosion. Yeah, holy crap, this is already a big deal. Now granted, I'm not sure why he has Explosion instead of Self-Destruct, or he might have Self-Destruct. No, he doesn't. Because Mewtwo has Self-Destruct, so if the whole idea is it's a experiment and it can go wrong, it can just destroy itself, I feel like that would make more sense. And I'm not complaining because Self-Destruct is stronger. It has Double Edge if you want a strong physical normal move that isn't Hyper Beam or Explosion. As you can see, it unfortunately doesn't have Body Slam, and that's a real shame. Because Silvally would absolutely love to use it. Kind of strange that neither Silvally or Arceus can actually learn it. So his main normal move that doesn't have any downsides is multi-attack, which is a signature move. And unlike Arceus' Judgment, I feel like multi-attack wouldn't be too busted in Gen 1, so I think it's fun to give it. Not to mention, it's really straightforward and balanced. It's the exact same base power as Takedown, but more accurate and doesn't give you recoil. Ever so slightly stronger than Body Slam, but you don't have the paralysis chance. So I think it's fair. You also have Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, you have Rest, which is especially good because of how bulky he is, Rock Slide, Substitute, Sword Stance, and T-Wave. and obviously has Hyper Beam. So there was just a lot of different moves you can give this guy. And none of them are really bad or wrong. Like, you can easily just have like Bulk Beam coverage. You can give it Thunder Wave. Or you can give like Hyper Beam. And like Sword Stance. Like, Explosion is probably a must-have no matter what. But I could be wrong. But depending on the moves that you give it, I can definitely see you not really needing it. Maybe let's say you have something like Sword Stance, multi-attack, and then Hyper Beam instead. Like, this isn't that bad. Obviously, you can have like, or you can replace Hyper Beam with Ice Beam, or Thunder Wave. He has a lot of stuff he can use, so which makes me happy, because he struggled so much in his debut generation. But being a normal type with access to pretty much everything you could ever want, other than maybe Blizzard. He doesn't have Blizzard, unfortunately. But honestly, I think it's good he doesn't have that, or Psychic, or Earthquake actually. Even though he can't learn Earthquake, I feel like he would be a little too good with it. Because like with Earthquake, then there's like nothing that can really, stop him, Not even Gengar. So maybe it's one of the best. But let's see how good he would be. Let's start by looking at the replays. Starting off with Tauros. You can't get paralyzed by him. And Thunder Wave is really nice. But other than that, honestly, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, you have a pretty good chance to crit. You hit hard either way. Your multi-attack is good enough damage. But Tauros is also likely to, get a crit. And even without, what's it called? Thunder Wave? It's maybe a winnable matchup if you get lucky. So I would say that with Garwas and the Moveset, it could go either way. Meanwhile, with Snorlax, if he has Reflect, you're in trouble. Both Amnesia and just regular attacking Snorlax, I think, could cause a problem. Though I feel like without Reflect, you can do a good enough job with physical Silvally sets, especially with Sword Stance. I feel like special Silvallies with Bulk Beam coverage probably struggle against Snorlax no matter what. So it could go either way. It really depends on the moveset for both of you, which probably doesn't surprise anyone. And then with Chansey, or oh wait, no, I forgot I had another Snorlax one. This is just showing how it does with the physical. And yeah, you can see there, Ice Beam did practically nothing, and Snorlax didn't even use an Amnesia. Granted, that did a lot better, but And also, Silvally's Explosion, look at that. It almost completely took out Snorlax at full health. So I doubt Silvally's Explosion is stronger than Snorlax's Self-Destruct, but I'm assuming it's the second most powerful attack in the entire game. And it also means that for Snorlax, it needs to be at full HP, otherwise Silvally can always KO it. And if that's how much he does to Snorlax, unless you're Gengar or Rhydon, I think it's safe to say that Silvally's Explosion can just clean everything off the map, which isn't surprising, but it definitely makes Silvally a force to be reckoned with, and extremely good. And then with Chansey finally, even without any boosts, multi-tag as a 3-hit KO, that's pretty nice. With Sword Stance, you can just, easily 2-hit KO it. And that's assuming you don't have Hyper Beam. Multi-tag, I would say it's good enough on its own though. There's just not much chance you can do. And yes, it can paralyze you. And I was going to say originally that Silvally really hates paralysis, but I actually don't think it does. Not only can it paralyze anything back, but I think with how bulky Silvally is, I think it's like Chansey, where it would very heavily prefer to be paralyzed, so that way it can't get put the rest, or to get frozen. But you guys let me know what you think. And then with Alakazam, it can paralyze Silvally, but Silvally hits hard. Granted, psychic special drops, as well as, critical hits, means that Alakazam easily could kill Silvally. but it's not the worst thing in the world. I would call it could go either way. Maybe it ever so slightly leans in Alakazam's favor, but I do not know. And then for Cloyster, yeah, Thunderbolts is a 2-hit KO. Granted, if you're just using a physical Silvally set, obviously Cloyster does a lot better. But you don't want to risk it unless you know. And that's the cool thing about Silvally. It's like Gen 3 Salamence. Nothing safely switches into it until you know what set it's using. So let's go. And then Executor. Flamethrower and Ice Beam do decent damage, but obviously Executor can just put you to sleep. Psychic is looks like a 3-hit KO, I think. With crits and special drops, it can be killed much faster. Or maybe it's more like a 4-hit KO, but it's more like a damage range. But it doesn't matter. Even though I would say, for the most part, Silvally has a bad matchup against Executor, it's always nice knowing you can blow up at any moment and just take it out. And then next up, we have Gengar, who is by far the best check, or maybe even counter to Silvally. It's faster. Silvally doesn't have any ground or psychic moves to immediately punish Hypnosis if it misses, meaning Gengar has plenty of times to try it out and use it. It's faster, and also, even if something's already put to sleep, Gengar has high enough special to where Silvally just can't touch it. So even with just like Nightshade, it can just easily just take on Silvally. Like look here, Silvally even got a crit, and it just didn't matter. Silvally just loses. And Gengar doesn't care that much about low HP anyways, because it is putting itself to sleep or exploding. So, do I put it in unwinnable? I think I put it on bad in the tier list, but that fight might be unwinnable for Silvally, but I'm not sure. But actually, now that I think about it, with that's assuming you have like special moves. If you're just using a physical Silvally, then yeah, Gengar really is unwinnable. Meanwhile, I really don't know how to judge Jolteon here. I guess could go either way because they can paralyze and crit each other, but other than that, it's a very awkward matchup. And then with Jinx, you still have a speed tie, but to my surprise, Hyper Beam isn't a guaranteed KO on Jinx. But Blizzard is, Silvally has a few chances to wake up, and I imagine the Hyper Beam is a damage range. Even if it isn't, I think it's extremely dangerous for both Pokemon. I think a little bit more for Jinx, but for the most part, it's a match that goes dead even. And next off, we have Rhydon, and yeah, Ice Beam, it just murders you. Earthquake's a 3-hit KO, but does that really matter? You just die. Even if like you only have normal moves, if Silvally gets like a Sword Stance up, or maybe even 2, Explosion can do a lot of damage to Rhydon. So yeah, it's just bad either way. And then we have Slowbro. Everyone loves Slowbro. Thunderbolt, as you see, does pretty good damage, but Slowbro can just amnesia up. And then Silvally can also use Sword Stance to threaten Slowbro physically, but that takes time, which gives Slowbro chance to build up specials, and then to just like murder with Surf. So it's just a bad matchup. Silvally just doesn't have many opportunities to really threaten it, and I imagine even a critical Thunderbolt wouldn't actually kill it. Maybe paralyzing the Slowbro gives you a better chance? Unless, I forget how exactly the glitch works. But yeah, like Silvally got lucky there, but it's also at 1 HP and paralyzed, and doesn't have quick attack, so it's basically dead either way. So, unfortunate. And with Starmie, I probably should have multiple replays, but I feel like this is still probably, like, summarizes the matchup good enough, where Starmie can paralyze and potentially stall with recover, but unlike Starmie, Silvally actually has super effective coverage, and even if it doesn't use Thunderbolt, it still has strong physical normal moves, which can really easily threaten Starmie. So I imagine this would be a good matchup for Silvally. At the very least, I don't see you ever wasting your Starmie to try to take Silvally on. And then last but not least, we have Zapdos. Both can do a lot of damage to each other. Zapdos does a little bit more, but Silvally has Explosion. I think this matchup could go either way. But it just depends on if they're paralyzed, who has more health, who's been fighting more, etc. And here's the list. And I'm not sure why I put that. I meant to put that here in bad matchups. Or actually, no. I think Gengar would actually put it unwinnable. Like, once I looked at the replay again. But here's the list. And, yeah, it's pretty good. And, like, pretty balanced. I honestly would argue Silvally would be, like, the 4th best Pokemon. And even if it's not the 4th best, I do think it would be a must-have on every single team. It's just way too versatile, hits hard enough, and it's pretty bulky, where I just don't see you ever just having a good reason not to use it. But what do you think? Do you think Silvally would be good in Gen 1? Do you think I overhyped it, and you think it would be kind of bad? Or do you think it would be good, but it wouldn't be a must-have every team? I look forward to what you guys have to say in the comments. And until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.